Hello everybody watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 18 of Season 10 NNSCRA Walmart Cup Series, a.k.a. the mid-season finale, as this will conclude the first half of the season, and then the second half will begin. I am Levi McIntyre, a.k.a. ThrashManiac99, the voice of NNSCRA Walmart Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Tropicana 400 here at Chicagoland Speedway. We're going to go 41 laps of racing here at this mile-and-a-half racetrack. This should be quite the interesting race for these drivers. But before we take a look at the starting lineup, let's look at how the top 20 in the points look coming into the race tonight, shall we? So to start things off, Michael Norman took the points lead over after last week at Daytona, but he leads by 1 point. That's right, 1 point over Pichu London. Third is Tim Walsh, fourth is Matt Skoenberger, fifth is Austin Mongold, sixth is Jesse Setti, seventh Zach Rogers, despite he's now going to continue to drop in the points as a result of him leaving. Eighth is Carson Gum, ninth Joshua Collard, 10th Matt McIntyre. Rest of the top 20 is David Rivera, Charles Sanford, Chase Oliver, Steven Guerrero, Kyle Matthews, Anthony McCrory, Dylan Young, James Qualls, Trent Dunham, and Sean Galligan. But as you had seen in the points after last week's race, we have quite the tight battle in that 21st through 30th spot. 21st through 30th is only separated by 22 points. The two highest drivers outside of the top 30 that are trying to get in, Preston Plord is 20 points back, and Connor Morgan is 30 points back. But Plord is already in races due to Champions Provisional. Connor Morgan still has to qualify his way in, and he did qualify in tonight. And ironically, he is the pole sitter for tonight. So with that said, let's look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row will be Austin Mongold and Caleb Farrell. Starting in the top 10, Connor Morgan on the pole. Starting next to him is Pichu London. Excuse me. Row 2 is Chris Washer and Dylan Young. Row 3, Joshua Collard and Trent Dunham. Row 4, Matthew Dallio and John Cittadino. And then row 5, Steven Guerrero and David Rivera. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Tropicana 400 at Chicago.
Drivers, start your engines!
Excuse me. Cars pulling out for their one pace lap. Connor Morgan, who fell out of the top 30 after last week at Daytona after he got involved in a crash in the early going of the race last week. But Connor Morgan is now trying to prove himself again and try to get back into the top 30. And he may look for a win tonight in hopes to get a wild card spot for the chase, because keep in mind, counting this race, we have 9 races left until the chase for the championship. So these guys are going to try their hardest to get a win or two in order to get themselves in the chase, or drive really well in the next 9 races in order to qualify their way into the top 10 in points to be in the chase. Pace car pulling into pit road, which means it is time to boogity 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 go racing. Excuse me. Connor Morgan leads lap number 1 here tonight at Chicagoland, as things are getting pretty dicey here in the early going, but Connor's got a big lead now over Joshua Collard, who's now moved into second. And look at Matthew Dallio trying to get into third, and he's got the spot for now, as it's pretty much double wide racing throughout most of the field. I saw some 3-wide action going on a little bit ago. Now it's kind of simmered down a little bit. But continuing to look around the field to see how things are going. Daniel Olson, who qualified in this week for the second race in a row. Last week he could have won Daytona, but after he caught lap traffic, it cost him the win, and he ended up finishing 8th at Chicago and lost the win to Jessica Shelton. And ironically, there is Shelton at the high line of a 3-wide battle with Matt McIntyre and Tanner Sullivan. Though Shelton's got a better run up off the high lane, just off of 4, but let's see how it looks coming off of 2. Will she clear those guys? Yes, she does. So it would seem that the high lane would be the preferred lane to take at certain times. But right here, Steven Guerrero running the high lane wasn't a great idea, and he ended up losing a couple spots, and he's going to continue to lose spots. Back up at the front, Connor Morgan still leads, but Joshua Collard is slowly reeling him in. And Joshua Collard has been on a consistent run over the past several weeks. He only has 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, but he has not had any bad races so far this season, and he's been consistently moving higher up in the point standings. He is currently 9th in the standings as we entered the race tonight. When we entered tonight, he came in 9th. If he can come out with a good finish here tonight, he could end up moving even higher up, especially since Zach Rogers will lose several spots in the points as a result of him not racing anymore. Battle on for the 3rd spot, Dylan Young, who's been trying his hardest to try and get some good runs going, because he's just been having a bad luck streak over the past 5-6 races, except for one race, which was Michigan, where he got a top 10 run. Right now he's running 3rd, and he's got his teammate Johnny Gardner right behind him. Chris Washer up into the 5th spot. Dylan Thoreau trying to overtake Matthew Dallio for the 6th position, and he does. Steven Guerrero hanging back there in the 8th spot. John Art is up there, and then we may have a battle for 10th underway. Trent Dunham and Jessica Sheldon. And man, Jessica Sheldon has been picking her way up into the top 10 little by little. She's just 1 spot out of the 10th position. So she's been moving up in the field most of the night. As we continue to look around throughout the field, the racing's kind of settled down. Though in the back here, it's double wide, almost 3-wide racing. And then there is 3 wide with Kev Shearer, Jesse Setti, Charles Sanford, and Sanford was in the middle of a Penske Racing sandwich. Wonder how that felt for him. Excuse me. Back up at the front, Collard's still right there with Connor Morgan, but he just has not really been able to really catch him to his back bumper and really unable to make a challenge. Dylan Young and Johnny Gardner are slowly but surely catching them too. Collard did gain a little bit on Connor on that lap, but not by much. And Connor's going to be blocking everyone as much as he can. Battle for 5th. Dylan Thoreau trying to go by Chris Washer for position. And he's going to take the spot. Matthew Dallio now catching the 35. Steven Guerrero kind of watching that battle from afar. And now here comes Dalio with a run on Washer, but can he get underneath him off the corner? No, he can't. Meanwhile, the battle for 10th continues between Trent Dunham and Jessica Sheldon. Sheldon's just been hanging on to that back bumper of the 1 car, but now she might have a run. No, I thought she had one, but she pulls back in line behind the 1 car for the time being. Back up at the front, Dylan Young has actually now caught the top 2, so now it might turn into a 3-car battle for the race lead here momentarily between Connor, Collard, and DeYoung. Although Collard actually got a big run on the 81, and now he cut that lead in half. Oh, but he had to back out of the throttle big time right there. But he's back in and he's still there. It's getting really competitive up here at the front among the top 5. Because the top 5 are only 0.8 of a second separated from each other. Connor Morgan still leads the way, and he's been the dominant car all night so far. Started on the pole. Dylan Young kind of watching the battle up front from afar to kind of maybe make the right time to make the right move. However, pit stops are definitely going to be a factor here in probably about the next 10 laps or so. Everybody will have to come in the pit road to top off on fuel, and then we'll see how pit strategy can come into play. Dylan Thoreau kind of right now battling with Johnny Gardner for the 4th spot. He's been right there on that back bumper for so long. Jessica Sheldon still can't seem to find a way around Trent Dunham for the 10th position. Kind of lost some ground as a result. But once we get to the halfway mark on lap 20, we will do a full field rundown to see how everyone is doing here in this race. Top 5 have pulled away from the rest of the field by a big margin. Top 5 is only separated by more than 0.8 of a second from Connor Morgan on back to Dylan Thoreau. Margin of the lead. Collard continues to either gain some or lose some, but he hasn't really been able to really get to that back bumper and try to make a move. Maybe Collard's playing it smart and not overdriving it and conserving himself a little bit so that way he'd have something for the 81 if it has to come down to that point. Since now we are around the halfway point, we're going to do the full field rundown. Connor Morgan is your leader. 2nd is Joshua Collard. 3rd is Dylan Young. 4th, Johnny Gardner. 5th, Dylan Thoreau. 6th, Chris Washer. 7th, Matthew Dalio. 8th, Steven Guerrero. 9th, John Arndt. 10th, Jessica Shelton. 11th is Trent Dunham. 12th, Benjamin Miles. 13th, Tanner Sullivan. 14th, Seth Cole. 15th, Daniel Olson, another solid run for that 9 car. 16th, Dorian Facepuncher. 17th, Kyle Keith. 18th, Anthony McCrory. 19th, DJ Curtis. 20th is Chase Oliver. 21st is James Qualls. 22nd, Jake Baskinger. 23rd is Matt McIntyre. 24th, Matt Skoenberger. 25th is John Cittadino. 26th is Tim Walsh. 27th, Preston Blord. Excuse me. 28th is David Rivera. 29th, Joseph Strigley. And then 30th, Carson Gum. 31st is Pichu London. 32nd is Sean Galligan. 33rd... had a little hiccup there, is Caleb Farrell. 34th, JT Bryant. 35th is Kev Shearer. 36th is Blaine Keys. 37th is Charles Sanford. 38th, battle with Jesse Setti and James McLeod. 40th is Michael Norman. 41st, Kyle Matthews. And then dead last, 42nd, is Austin Mongold. Back up at the front, Connor Morgan still leading the way, though the margin has gotten really close between the top 2. Collard seemed like he had something, but not quite. Dylan Young's still kind of enjoying this up at the front. Maybe he is playing a bit of a mind game with the top two. Maybe he's just waiting for the right moment. As meanwhile, battle still continues for the 4th spot between Dylan Thoreau, Johnny Gardner, and here comes the 26. With the run. Oh, and now we got a battle for the lead for sure. Here comes Collard. Collard with the run to the inside of Connor Morgan. First time all night we've got change for the lead. But let's see how Connor does on the high lane, however. Sometimes the high lane can work. He's going to get cleared, and now he might lose second because here comes Dylan Young, or maybe not. Connor's going to stay in second. Big change up here at the front, and now we might have a battle for the 3rd spot. Dylan Thoreau and Dylan Young, the battle of the Dylans. If only Dylan Potee was in this race, it'd be a triple threat match. Johnny Gardner kind of enjoying this, and he's right behind those two in front of him. Now Connor Morgan, let's see what he can do as far as trying to come back and retake the lead from the 43 of Collard. The margin got closer for the 81 right there. Meanwhile, Jessica Sheldon now moved up to the 9th spot. Benjamin Miles right on her tail. As pretty much, like I said, the top 5 had broken away in a big way from everybody else. Oh, wait a minute. Pit stops are happening. I kind of had a suspicion that was going to happen around this time of the race. We got green flag pit stops, and I think I've only seen 2 cars come into pit road. Chris Washer and, at the time, the race leader, Joshua Collard. But let's see if anybody else among the top of the track are going to come in. Yes. Oh, a few cars are going to stay out. Trying to find them. So the cars that stayed out this time were Seth Cole, Tanner Sullivan, Anthony McCrory, Chase Oliver, James Qualls, Jake Baskinger, Matt McIntyre, Matt Skoenberger, Trent Dunham, David Rivera. Looks like Joseph Strigley, John Cittadino, Caleb Farrell. A lot of cars stayed out this time. So about half the field came in the pit that last time, and half of them stayed out. Who's going to come in and stay out this time? Trent Dunham staying out. Kev Shearer's staying out. Jesse Setti staying out. And Michael Norman staying out. Joshua Collard is in that mix. Oh, some contact right there with Austin Mongold and Caleb Farrell on pit road. Connor Morgan won the battle off pit road in the 2nd group. Kev Shearer has yet to come into pit road. Same with Trent Dunham. Now here they come, along with Jesse Setti and Michael Norman and all of them who hadn't come in yet. But I think when we get cycled around, I think Connor Morgan's going to get the lead again, because Joshua Collard did not beat out the 81 or the 77. So the top 5 is relatively the same drivers, except in a different order. Now the top 2 would be Connor Morgan and Johnny Gardner. And that is officially the lead, since Trent Dunham has been cycled around to being way in the back now. But now battle for the lead is here comes the 77 with a run underneath the 81. Connor and Johnny, but Connor got the edge up off the high lane that time to keep the lead. But let's see how it's going to fare here in 1 and 2. So far it's still a dead heat. But Gardner got a little bit of that run off. Let's see how it works here in 3 and 4 for the 77. And it looks like he's going to get clear of him. So now officially a new race leader, Johnny Gardner. Connor Morgan 2nd, 3rd Joshua Collard, 4th Dylan Young, 5th Dylan Thoreau. So the top 5 still the same drivers, like I said, but in a different order. Seth Cole, what a good run going for him, up to the 6th position as a result. Connor Morgan, despite running second, he is going to get the most laps led bonus points because he led well over half the race until he got passed by Joshua Collard and then this time by Johnny Gardner. Johnny Gardner trying to go for his first win in a long time. He went winless last season, if I recall. And he went winless in Season 8. So far, the top two still relatively close. And look at this little battle between the top two in points with Peachy London and Michael Norman are a few spots within each other, but with this result, I think Peachy London would retake the points lead going into Indianapolis next week. Connor Morgan losing ground, and now he might lose second because here comes Collard with the run on the inside of the 81. Dylan Young and Dylan Thoreau are all here. Now it's 3 wide for third. Careful, guys. Whoa, Connor Morgan about got the wall. So Connor Morgan now falls back to the 5th position as a result. But Johnny Gardner's got a pretty big lead over Joshua Collard. Battle on for third between Dylan Thoreau and Dylan Young. Dylan Thoreau with that inside lane. Let's see if he can get clear, and he does. And now Connor Morgan with a run underneath Dylan Young for the 4th position. Connor Morgan trying to make a last-minute comeback to get a better finish than 5th place. Oh, but he doesn't quite get that run, and Dylan Young stays clear of the 81. Joshua Collard trying to run down the 77 to get back to the front where he was before the pit stop started. Dylan Thoreau trying to get his first win of the season. And he's en route to his first top 5 finish this season. The guy who comes in 21st in points. Gardner, on the other hand, he's desperately wanting to win this race because he has fallen big time in the points. He is now 29th in points when he came into this race. But if he were to win, he's going to have a big jump in the points. Two laps to go here in the Tropicana 400. Johnny Gardner trying to get Penske Racing their 3rd win this season. 2 of those wins have come from Jesse Setti, who is in the top 10 in points. Battle on for second with Dylan Thoreau and Joshua Collard here in the last couple laps as the white flag is displayed for Johnny Gardner. Dylan Thoreau with the run on the inside of Collard. This is for the 2nd spot. Dylan Young going to reel in the 43 for 3rd now as a result. Look at Dylan Thoreau go. Johnny Gardner liking that, and he's going to come away with the win. Off of turn number 4 to make it official. The checkered flag is waving. Johnny Gardner wins the Tropicana 400 at Chicagoland. What a fantastic race we had here tonight. And Johnny Gardner comes away with the number 1 position to win. What a job by that 77 team. But let's look at the rest of the results. Dylan Thoreau gets his first top 5 finish of the season with a great run in the 2nd spot. And how about that great 3rd place finish for Dylan Young? Came into this race despite a good run at Michigan over the last 5 or 6 races with a bad luck streak. Now it might all get turned around as he comes away 3rd. Joshua Collard gets his 2nd top 5 finish of the season and 4th. And the dominant car of the night, Connor Morgan, while he wanted to get his 2nd win of his career, he does come away with a good finish in the top 5, and that might just put him back into the top 30 in points. Anthony McCurry with a great run in 6th. Steven Guerrero with a solid run in 7th. Matthew Dallio, great run in 8th, solid ninth place finish for Seth Cole, and Chris Washer with a great run in 10th. Rest of the top 20, Jessica Sheldon, Kyle Keith, Benjamin Miles, Dorian Facepuncher, Tanner Sullivan, Daniel Olson, Tim Walsh, Preston Plord, James Qualls, and Jake Baskinger. Rest of the top 30 was Matt McIntyre, Carson Gum, Trent Dunham, JT Bryant, Matt Skoenberger, Sean Galligan, Caleb Farrell, Charles Sanford, DJ Curtis, John Arndt. Rest of the top 40 was Kev Shearer, Joseph Strigley, Blaine Keys, John Cittadino, Jesse Setti, Michael Norman, Austin Mongold, Pichu London, Kyle Matthews, David Rivera. And then the last car to finish on the lead lap was James McLeod. Chase Oliver ended up finishing a lap down, and seems like he might have had trouble on his pit stop. But as a result, we come out with Johnny Gardner as the winner. But thank you guys for watching the Tropicana 400 here at Chicagoland. Next week, it's a big one. We head to one of the biggest races of the season, the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But until then, here are your results, rookie points and regular points heading into Indy, and this is Levi McIntyre signing off.